right, moving on to running back. And this is going to be a very difficult take because you see the picture and you see the title. But Saquon Barkley is a very scary pick for me this year. I know that might sound like the dumbest thing I've ever said in my life. Mike, what are you saying? Saquon just had a 2,000-yard season. I understand that, but that makes me even more scared to draft him because if you look at his career, he almost doubled his career yards in a single year. He was at 5,000. He just got 2,000 one year with the Eagles. No offense, these kinds of seasons are rare. They do not ever happen back to back. How is he going to replicate that season? 345 carries for 2,000 yards. I'm not going to touch it. And even Bijan, Jahmyr Gibbs, all of those guys, they have competition too. I know Algier hasn't gotten much work, but they're still there. They still gotten touches. David Montgomery's still right there. I'm honestly out on all of the early running backs. Not because they're going to get injured. You can't predict injury. Injury is a part of the sport. But to be safer rather than sorry, I don't care. I'm taking Jamar Chase. I don't care. I'll take Ashton Genty, who's a rookie this year and has no competition. And yes, Genty could get hurt, but he's a fresh guy coming into the league, and he's got something to prove. He's got a chip on his shoulder. Barkley, 27, coming off the season of his career, talking about in the offseason how, yeah, I might be like a Barry Sanders guy where I might retire by the age of 30. That just sounds like and then all of this stuff with the Madden curse and then now offensive player of the year I'm sorry, but sometimes fantasy is a curse, and I'm not going to be that guy that says Saquon's done because he's a very good player, and he may very well play in about 10, 12 games, and he might rush for about 1,200 yards, but is that a guy that you want to take with your first-round pick? I wouldn't. I'm not saying it's going to be a bad year for Barkley, but it's definitely not going to be a 2,000-yard season. People draft so many players because they expect them to have the number that they had last year. It is almost impossible for people to live up to what they've done. Jonathan Taylor, years ago, was a first-round pick, had an 1,800-yard season, couldn't live up to it. Cooper Kupp, Triple Crown year, never even got close ever after that. It's not a outlier stat either. Every year you have players that perform so well, and then they just don't match that number. If he gets close to 2,000 yards, I'll shut my mouth. If he finishes a top 5 running back, sure, he's a safe pick in your eyes. But I am very not sold on Saquon Barkley. I'm sorry, but if you're looking at other guys, Landon Dickerson also injured. We don't know how long he's going to be out for. That is a very key part of that offensive line. I know the offensive line is very good, but this is the thing. Running back in the first round is scary to draft. If you take Saquon, you better take Will Shipley later. You better take all of the other running backs that are going to succeed. Because that's just the beauty, I would say the ugliness of the sport, is that you cannot predict injury. If you draft Kyron Williams in the second round, you better get Blake Corum later. If you draft Bijan Robinson, you better get Tyler Algier. If you draft Jahmyr Gibbs, you might need to get David Montgomery. There is so much skepticism as to how do you win fantasy. Half of it's luck, but the other half is taking either your handcuff to your first-round running back or just staying away from the injury guys. I mean, you might as well have a better take. You might have a better risk on a guy like Ashton Genty, who is coming into the league fresh, or you might have a better risk on a guy like Christian McCaffrey, as stupid as that sounds. Christian McCaffrey, who's coming off an injury-prone season, is probably more inclined, and it's a risky pick, don't get me wrong, but McCaffrey has proven that he can be a top running back, and off a year where he just got hurt, where everyone is fading him, he's going to get hurt again? Very possible, but because he's slipping to running back 7, I'd rather take him there than an RB1. And again, I feel like second round would be better value to take McCaffrey, but again, there's also no competition in that backfield. And there's nobody to catch the ball. Brandon Ayuk, who's hurt. Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, no. Saquon Barkley's got A.J. Brown. Dallas Goedert coming back healthy. I mean, yes, Saquon's going to be a main part of that offense, but is he going to have this season again? 2,000 yards, 5.8 yards a carry, 13 touchdowns, 345 rushes, 345 carries. Are you kidding? That is a lot of wear and tear. He's proven himself, that's for sure. But he already got the bag. I mean, what more has he got to prove? He's probably just playing for the team. And that's the thing. Now that he's 1 year in Philadelphia, everyone's got film on the team. Everyone's going to be looking, all right, how can we stop Saquon Barkley? If you can beat us in the pass, you can beat us in the pass. Everyone's going to say, we have to stop this guy at all costs because look at these numbers. I just don't believe he can replicate it. So as much as I'm going to go on a tangent, yes, injuries happen. I'm not saying he's going to get hurt. But again, very high volume risk. Anybody who's got 300 plus carries, I may love them as a player. You know what? Perfect example. Kyron Williams. I love him as a player. Unbelievable talent. Great upside. Nobody to compete with in that backfield. Blake Corum's getting second team reps. But he had 300 plus carries last year. He had one of the best seasons of his career. If you draft him in the second round, which I may, I got to get Blake Corum. Because if Kyron goes down, you can't rely on one player to win you your fantasy leagues. And that's what everybody tried to do last year with Christian McCaffrey. Everyone's like, oh, McCaffrey, all these reports in camp that he's fine, and then he didn't play week 1, and then he didn't play for 8 more weeks. You got to be smart here. If you want to win your league, you have to be smart. I'm not saying anything about this guy, Saquon, getting hurt. But the past history of 2,000-yard season, 345 carries, that's a lot of wear and tear in your body. Which meaning, even if he has 300 carries for 1,400 yards, that's not an RB1 finish. There's other running backs that I don't even know who the top running back is right now. McCaffrey could be in the running, but again, injuries are everywhere. I might just take a wide receiver first and then take a Aaron Jones or somebody later that I'm more confident in. Hey, there's so many rookies. J.K. Dobbins, R.J. Harvey, Caleb Johnson. There are so many good rookies later that you can get for so much better value rather than taking an RB1 and have to risk a terrible season because you took a guy like Bijan, a guy that you thought was going to be the workhorse, and then something unexpected happens, something terrible happens, and you need to have that next man up mentality. Fantasy is an ugly world, but you got to make the correct decision. I'm sorry I went on a little rant. I know I'm going to get a lot of flame for it, but try and understand this kind of perspective because it makes sense. Just saying. McCaffrey, again, this is a guy who can be the first pick. I'm not saying, we got to take a second here, but Christian McCaffrey can very easily be the number 1 pick this year. And you can argue it. I was thinking Genty, but I feel like that's a little bit of a reach. McCaffrey's a guy who, you could literally see it on your screen, he's proven, even missing week 18, he is going to feast. I don't care how many times he's been injured. He even proved last year, fighting through an injury, that he can do it. Looking at his stats, I mean, this is a guy who even last year, in the 4 games that he played, 50 carries, 200 yards, 4 yards a carry, and he caught a lot of passes. I don't care if he's got a step that he's lost. I don't care about any of that. Deebo Samuel's gone. Nobody is on that team that can play anymore. So, yes, if I take McCaffrey for a first-round pick, it might look stupid to my method of, hey, you're taking a guy that you said you don't want to take injury. I understand what I'm saying. But you also have to understand he just got hurt. So a lot of people are going to be fading him. If Barkley just got hurt, a lot of people last year, Barkley got hurt coming to the Eagles. I don't know. Barkley's injury prone. I don't know. And I was all over Barkley last year. That's the one thing I forgot to say. I was all over Saquon Barkley last year. All over him. And then when everybody, all of a sudden he has a 2,000-yard season. Oh, I got to draft Saquon Barkley. I don't know if that's where everyone's mindset is. But you got to keep in mind, he had just had a 2,000-yard season. The fact that he does that again, it's very shaky. McCaffrey, 2 great seasons back-to-back. 1,100 yards, 2022, went to the Niners. First full season with the Niners, 1,400 yards. Kind of got hurt at the end of the 23 season. It went all into camp. Couldn't play, couldn't get on the field. The tendonitis, it was a problem. But now he's back, and he's not even 30. He's 29. He still got it, man. It's Christian McCaffrey. I am making a case for myself to draft this guy. He's going to catch about 100 passes this year, and he's going to rush for about 800 yards. And maybe not a lot of touchdowns, but he's going to catch a lot of passes. And that's all you need to ask for from Christian McCaffrey. Guy is a monster. I mean, seriously. We've seen it. We know he can do it. 244 carries, 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. I'm not saying he's going to get 14, but he's definitely going to be up there with the running backs ones because he's going to catch the ball. Saquon only caught 30 balls last year. He's not necessarily a guy that's going to get checked down the ball a lot. Not to say that's a good or bad thing, but again, in order to be the RB1, in order to get the most potential out of a running back, you kind of got to look at every situation. Look at, is somebody coming off a pinnacle season? Are they off an injury? Everything matters because Breece Hall this year has a chip on his shoulder because it's in a contract year. And there are so many running backs that in the middle rounds can easily succeed, can easily be league winners, where I don't honestly trust any of the first-round running backs. I don't trust any of them. So I might just make this a one-part video. I was thinking about making it a avoid Saquon and then a draft McCaffrey. But honestly, I might just keep it as one because I don't know who to draft this year, man. The running backs, I always want to take a running back first, but I don't trust Bijan. As stupid as it sounds, I don't trust Bijan. I don't trust Gibbs. I don't trust Saquon. I don't trust Kyron. I don't trust any of them. I think there's so many other guys in better situations later in the rounds that why not? Why not pull the trigger? So second, third round, maybe I'll take running back. But there's just so many question marks across the league. Not only injuries, but situationals, bad offensive line, what is the system, and then half the league is in a committee. So it's so tough to have a good dominant running back. There's only 4 or 5 running backs that are not in a committee, named Jonathan Taylor, Ashton Genty, Josh Jacobs, Kyron Williams, maybe Caleb Johnson, maybe J.K. Dobbins, but probably the other one's Derrick Henry. So if you can secure one of those 5 running backs, and we'll talk about it after the sleepers. It'll be sleepers, then must drafts. But again, you have to look at all of the facts of the situational stuff that's going on here because JT mentioned him. He's not in a very good situation. His team's probably going to be losing 100-0 every game. So that's not a guy you might want to draft. But again, those are your guys in good situations. You have to find the guys for value, find the guys in good situations, find the guys that are going to get the volume. And it's all about volume for fantasy football. And I'm so sketchy of all the first-round running backs because, yes, they're great. But for how long? Can they be consistent? Can I count on them week in, week out? And if the answer is yes, go ahead and draft them. If the answer is no, but you still want to draft them, go ahead. Could lose. But you might want to get their backup running back later in your drafts.